First of all, this is a very sensitive topic, no doubt about that. You're going to see some names today that are probably very familiar to you, that guys who were from Sterling, who were arrested as Klan members. Were they Klan members? I don't know, but they were arrested as Klan members. So hopefully, you're not gonna start throwing things at me or things like that. But believe me, there were plenty of Clinton people not so much involved in the other side of things, really. But here we go. We'll see what happens. The most, obvious sign of the Klan and activities was, of course, the burning cross. And burning crosses were happening really all over the place. In Clinton, in the 1920s, mid-1920s, remember, Clinton's a big Catholic town, no doubt. Small town, at the time, three Catholic churches. And so the Klan, which, I don't know how else to say it, was mostly Protestants, they would create these burning crosses in various places all over town. One of them was up at Woodlawn Cemetery. One of them was like on Rattlesnake Ledge, which was right across the valley from Holy Rosary Church. They were all planned out. That was the idea. It was kind of like almost like a terrorism in a way. It was to instill fear. Now remember, this was not your great-grandfather's Klan. The Klan in New England was created by mostly Protestants who saw their world changing, and in some ways maybe just like how some people feel today. They saw French-Canadian Catholics coming down from Canada, settling in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and coming into Massachusetts. They saw the Irish getting elected to positions. Suddenly, these Catholics and Jewish people were taking over. Jewish people were starting businesses, making money. And the old guard, Protestants mostly, didn't like that. It was like these new people coming in. What are they doing? They're taking over. In some ways, like maybe how some people feel today. But we didn't have many African Americans around here. So the Klan was really here for one purpose. They were trying to terrorize Catholics, Jews, people who were different, who didn't speak our language, whatever. And the cross was always a symbol, without a doubt. So here's why the resurgence of the Klan. I got a little ahead of myself, but in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, French Canadians, Catholics were coming down. Massachusetts, it was Catholics and Jews. There was very much increased political power by the Irish. My father always used to have a saying. He said, in Clinton, the Polish people had the Polish Hall. The Italians had the ITAM Hall, and the Irish had the Town Hall. And so the Irish were really gaining a lot of power. This is back in the days of David I. Walsh and governor, lieutenant governor. People were concerned. The old guard was very concerned about the new folks coming in here. Rhode Island and Connecticut, Italians seemed to be the target. Sacco and Vanzetti was a very famous law case. They were Italian anarchists, or at least they were called that. White Anglo-Protestants felt that they were losing control. And of course, there was even this national popularity of Al Smith, who ran for president. He was the first Catholic to do so. So there was a lot of things going on. This didn't help either. This was the new movie that came out around that time period, 1915. It was originally called The Klansman, but it was Birth of a Nation, one of the very first films ever done. And it really romanticized the Klan and the Klan of the South and what they were doing. So Worcester, Mass, that we all know, not too far away from here, that was the center of Klan activity. Without a doubt. In 1923 and 24, there were Klan conventions in Worcester. And this is not like a secret. This was big, regular convention. They would all come in. I think in one day, they recruited something like 1924, they signed up 2,000 new recruits in one day. And that was in Worcester only. So this was a big deal. This was really a big deal. So all of these rallies were going on in Central Mass, and I'm going to have to read my notes. In Charlton, there was a burning cross that was lit right across the street from a Catholic church during its annual lawn party. In Princeton, there were 700 Klanners. They gathered for a meeting. In Athol, there was a fiery cross and gunshots. In Boylston, there was a burning cross set up near a Catholic gathering. Millbury, there were 700 Klanners clashed with 75 anti-Klanners, which were the Catholic troublemakers. And they actually tore the hoods off some of them. That was the big thing, of course. If you had your hood, they didn't know who you were. And then even in Boylston and West Boylston on Route 140, there was a huge Klan gathering. So it was happening all over the place, without a doubt. So every Tuesday, the Klan met in Berlin. Berlin seemed to be sort of the closest local center of it. And you think about that. I mean, Clinton was a big Catholic stronghold, 3 Catholic churches. I think Berlin, if I'm right, Berlin's first Catholic church was built first and only Catholic church was built in 1959. Well, Clinton's Catholic church started in like 1840. So Berlin was definitely more of a conservative town, Protestant town, kind of old-fashioned agricultural community. And Clinton was Catholics more and more coming in all the time. So at first, when the clashes started, when the fighting started, it was more like a juvenile type of thing. Like in this particular case, this was in, I think it was Westboro? Yes, in Westboro. And I'll call them Catholics. There might have been other anti-Klanners, but it was mostly young Catholic guys looking to rumble and make some trouble and stuff like that. They went to this town and they would change all the signs. So the Klan was having a big meeting, so the Catholic guys would go around and just knock down the signs or whatever, just to cause confusion and make sure not enough Klan guys showed up that night. So the first real riot, I guess you'd call it, was in Lancaster on Ballard Hill. And that was quite an event right at the top of Ballard Hill. And all kinds of people involved. Always got the state police involved because the local cops couldn't really handle it. And this is just some information about the Lancaster Klan riot. It was held in Charles Shoemaker's field on Ballard Hill. It was a 9-hour standoff between the Klan and anti-Klanners. 4 hooded guards were on duty at a single opening. The Klan couldn't have been too smart. I don't know why, but they always seemed to do that same routine. They would go in a field with a very narrow opening. So there'd be like an old stone wall with a narrow gate. And so they would stand there and let the Klan members in only. But that also meant when it came time to leave and you had all these anti-Klanners starting to gather and look around and get stones and God knows what else, there was only one way out of the place. And so it never worked out too well for the Klan. The Shoemaker house and barn were damaged by rocks. There were gunshots. An ambulance was called to assist an injured 2 people, Roy Grover and Officer Peter Sonia. Many Klanners left their cars in the field and just ran into the woods and escaped that way. Because again, there's one gate, one narrow gate in and out. Klanners were searched for weapons by the state police, and the police escorted the Klans out of the field and onto Route 17, where the anti-Klanners were waiting for them. So like anything, like even today, they were in some ways protected by the state police. If they got a parade permit, then the state police would escort them, and usually all hell would break loose. But there were state police there with them, making sure that they could leave peacefully, which they almost never seemed to do. So here's more about that. Anti-Klanners were writing down license plates of the Klan as they went by, although some of the Klan members purposely put mud on their license plates so people couldn't identify who they were. And then we had Collins and son Orrin were followed back to Main Street, where a violent confrontation took place. The Collinses were from Clinton, and they lived almost across from Shaw's on Main Street in Clinton. And the story goes, the daughter of Mr. Collins told me this years and years ago, that they had gone to the Klan meeting on Ballard Hill to see what it was like. That's what she said. And said they just wanted to see what happened at a Klan meeting. Well, then they came back home to Clinton, and when they were on the porch, that's when somebody followed them. She told me years and years ago, she's long dead now, that it was Klan members who did it, who beat up the man and his son. But more than likely, it was probably the anti-Klanners who thought that they were Klan members. Whether they were or not, I don't know. But anyway, Devon soldiers were put on alert. The next day, Lancaster officials were called to the State House to meet with the governor. This was pretty big stuff. And two anti-Klanners, William O'Toole and Joseph Flynn, of course they had to be from Clinton, they were arrested. So only two people were arrested in that big mess. But it was quite violent. And this is the Collins home. It's in pretty tough shape right now, but it's almost across from Shaw's in Clinton. And that porch was open then. And they just came back from the rally just to see what it was like, supposedly. And they were followed by some 5-6 guys in a car that beat the daylights out of both of them. So there was a new policy. The cops didn't know how to handle this stuff at all. They had no idea what to do. And so they decided one new policy would be to grab weapons. So even if you were at a Klan rally with a weapon that you had a license for, they took it off you, and maybe the next day you could go to the police station and get it. If you didn't have a license, they arrested you, of course, for it. So the cops had to do something to stop the violence that was going on. Well, the next riot was in Berlin, and that was May 3rd, 1925. And same type of situation. They gathered in a field, in Brewer's Field, which I think is right on Route 62. The weapons of choice seemed to be rocks. And then here's more about that. It was held on Brewer Farm, Sawyer Hill Road. That's right on 62. 275 Klanners fought with about 100 anti-Klanners, most from Clinton and Hudson. The Berlin constable was injured in the battle. There was many signs of the meeting. The Klan, remember, was now, the Klan wouldn't back down either, but they were putting signs on things. They even had a way of putting little meeting notices under milk bottles. When the guys delivered milk in the morning, they would slip under the bottles, hey, there's a meeting of the Klan in this place or that place or whatever. They had their own little, there was no Facebook. So as part of the meeting, the Klan raised the U.S. flag. They sung gospel songs. They had speakers. No matter what you think of the Klan, and probably some people today would think the conservatives, if you're a conservative, then you'd be a Klan member back in 1925. So, they have this, they salute the flag, they believe in, they believe in America and sort of like the purity of America. And they didn't like the poisoning of all these other people coming in. Like I said, I resurrected this show because of what's kind of going on in the world today, too. So anyway, state police had to escort the Klan members out of the field. Police instructed the Klan, do not go home through Clinton, because they knew there was trouble in Clinton all the time as far as Klan members go. And so anti-Klanners rushed to various intersections in Berlin to intercept Klan cars. And once again, no arrests, though, were made. So here's the Sterling Klan riot. I put that in especially for you guys. And let me see where my notes are. So this came right from the Telegram and Gazette. So it was July 17, 1925. So Klansmen and anti-Klansmen clashed tonight at the Henry Godfrey Farm on the State Road. I do not know where that is, but I would assume that's Route 62, and maybe between the Sterling Ice Cream Bar and the center of town, but it could be between the center of town and heading toward West Boylston. But again, same kind of thing. Everybody knew that they were going to meet. There was going to be trouble. Here's a little bit more about the Sterling one. It was in 62. 300 to 400 Klansmen were there, all in their robes and all of that. Hooded guards were on duty, allowing only Klanners to enter the field. That was a routine they always had. As the Klan cars left the field, a large number of anti-Klanners, most of them from Clinton, started throwing rocks. Constable McDonald Lynch called for the state police. On Main Street in Clinton, anti-Klanners waited with rocks for Klan cars to come by. So there were different places, intersections in Clinton, where I don't know how they kept track of what was going on, but when this broke up, they expected certain people, at least of the Klan, to be going by. So why not throw rocks and break windshields and all that kind of stuff? Burnett Hill was a stronghold of Catholics in Clinton. They were all ready to go. And the Klan did not come through Clinton, though, when they left the field. And several innocent travelers reported damage to their cars from rocks thrown. And once again, no arrests were made. But back in those days, you wouldn't want to be driving by at the end of a Klan rally because your car would probably be destroyed or torched or whatever. The Catholics were all on alert. St. John's, even from the pulpit, spoke about the fact that we all have to kind of get along, and Catholics better be careful about what's going on around us. And it was a scary time for the Catholics. This was probably some of the more serious stuff the Klan did. In Leominster, they burned down St. Cecilia's School. All right, that's big stuff. This is not just a black eye and throwing rocks. The very next week in Shirley, there was some damage to a convent and classrooms at St. Anthony's Convent School. And then there was one more incident, I think, in Worcester. They tried to light a fire at St. Anne's in Worcester, but it didn't work or whatever. But everybody was put on notice that you got to be careful of what's going on. And this was probably the most serious stuff that was going on at the time, right around here. So anyway, the biggest riot of all, and the one that pretty much ended the Klan's reign, at least in Clinton, was this thing right here on the Acre in Clinton. The Clinton Klan riot was in June 10, 1925. Those pictures are about where it happened, right? That's the Acre Club, that brick building. Used to be a school. And it's kind of at the end of Berlin Street and Oak and Chase. And it's kind of like the old Route 62, if you know Clinton at all. Today, the new Route 62 goes by the dam, and then you take a left onto Willow Road. This was right through the Acre. About 11 o'clock at night, the Berlin meeting broke up. And there was about a dozen state police that were on hand, waiting to escort. And so after the conference, and nobody seems to know why, but the Klan said, we're going to go right through Clinton. Our parade, and it was a parade, we're going to go right through Clinton. Now, obviously, again, if you know your roadways, they could have easily gone over Willow Road, and some of them, I'm sure, from Worcester and other areas could have taken a left and just gone around Clinton. But for whatever the reason, the leaders of the Klan said, no, we're going to go right through Clinton this time. And that was a mistake. So state police led the Klan toward Clinton. We're talking about 100 cars, right? Led by 3 trucks filled with hooded Klan members. This all happened on Berlin Street, right near the old Forbes School. And somewhere between Kilmary Street and Oak Street, they were met by 400 to 500 Catholics. And police tried to escort the Klan onto Route 70, but they were pelted with rocks. Fighting was fierce and totally out of control. All local police were summoned. Even the day shift guys had to come in. A car belonging to a Newton man was overturned on Oak Street. And at the end of all of this, they found over 100 clubs, bats, rubber hoses, iron pipes littering the streets all the way along there. I mean, this was a riot, without a doubt. And they arrested 37 people, all Klans members, which is interesting if you know Clinton. But here's more of it. So 37 were arrested, and 5 had additional charges. Bail was set for $100 each, $300 for those 5 extra ones that went above and beyond the violence. State police manned the front doors of the station in Clinton. Some who came to bail out friends were locked up themselves. That was not a good time to be a friend of a Klansman, I don't think. Chief Kittredge ordered an Essex coach to the station belonging to somebody named Merle Bogart. That vehicle, parked on Mechanic Street, was torched by anti-Klanners. So this poor Merle Bogart, had his vehicle towed to right in front of the police station, and it ended up when he left the building, he didn't have a car anymore because it was torched. It's not funny, but some of those arrested had copies of a Klan newspaper on them. Most of the charges were simply disturbing the peace and parading without a permit. You couldn't separate these guys. It was just mass hysteria. What else can you do? If you didn't have a permit to parade, then you should be arrested. And likewise, disturbing the peace. And overall, 80 complaints were sworn out by Chief Kittredge. Kind of interesting that not one anti-Klanner got arrested. So here is the list. And we're going to break down the Sterling folks in a few minutes. But this was right from the newspaper. I didn't make it up. So I hope I'm not, again, this is the 1920s. If you were a young man in the 1920s, there wasn't a hell of a lot to do. World War I was over. You were probably looking for a little excitement. It probably started off as more of almost like a type of rumble that you'd have between Clinton and Neshoba back in the day of football. It really wasn't too serious. You might get a black eye out of it. A little excitement, though. Then it kind of got carried away. So anyway, you'll see some Clinton names here. You'll see some Sterling names here. Everett Rice was one of the people from Clinton who was, was in more serious trouble than the others. But just to go through some of the names quickly, starting on the left, and I realize you probably can hardly read those. Herbert Russ had a possession of a club. Chipman was the very last one arrested. Tuttle was waiting in his car outside the station, was brought in and arrested. Alfred Smith was arrested when he came in to bail out his brother. Bogart was arrested for no license and registration, although probably was in the car that had burned down. Parker had a gun in his car, so he was going to be more serious. Bates had a possession of a club. Rice had the most serious charges. Everett Rice there, the last one on the right. Possession of a gun with intent to kill. And again, 80 charges came up altogether. I don't know if I mentioned, but remember that the police chief in Clinton was a Catholic. So that probably had something to do with 37 Klanners being arrested and none of these other guys being arrested. All right, here we go with the Sterling delegation. All right, again, I don't, doesn't mean these people are bad. They were young guys, easily influenced, looking for a little excitement. And I don't even know if they were Klan members. They were arrested that night with the Klan. So anyway, and I actually have the transcript from the hearings at the Historical Society, so I can at least tell you some of what they said. This first gentleman, William White. Any relatives here? Okay. White actually complimented the Clinton Police Department, and he said they were very, very thorough. They even took out his new false teeth before putting them in a cell. Stewart, what was it? No, I don't have anything on Tuttle. Stewart was waiting in his car and then just got pulled out and arrested. Harry Morris wasn't even in the Klan parade, but came back looking for Klan friends and was arrested. And here we have Norman Sawyer. Okay. I don't have, yeah, I know. I knew I'd get in trouble with that one. Sawyer and Sterling is like Bigelow and Clinton, I think. But Norman Sawyer, there was nothing said about him as far as like, an excuse or an alibi or whatever. He was arrested. I think he was, 22 years old. But I will tell you a quick little story about him. There was a write-up, or somehow I heard about him, and I had been researching this for so many years. I heard that he was in a nursing home on Ballard Hill, and this was back in the early 90s. And because I was interested in this topic, and I had seen the arrest records, so I knew that he was there, and he was quite elderly, I said, I'm going to go talk to him and just talk about Sterling history and find out maybe a little bit about this Klan business. So I called the place, and I guess he was very lucid, very with it. Even in his early 90s, he was quite with it. And they set up something for me, and I set up an appointment to see him, and then he died right before I ever got there. And it's funny because about 6 months later, there was somebody else I wanted to talk to, quite elderly. I made an appointment, and they died. So that's when my wife said, Terry, the last thing anybody wants to hear is, can I talk to you? Anyway, I stopped that. But that was weird about Norman Sawyer, and I do know right after he passed away, it was front page headlines in the Clinton item. They called him Mr. Sterling. He was a fire chief. He was, what else was he? I forgot. He was very, very involved in Sterling, very, very well liked, related to, I think, the Sawyers, and Mary Had a Little Lamb, and the whole thing. So again, almost every one of these people were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Were they card-carrying members of the Klan? I don't know, and nobody else will know either. But anyway, George Spencer was 22. He was waiting in his car in front of the station and just got hauled out by the Clinton cops. And Newton came back to help Klan members and was arrested. So there was some other dynamics going on too, though. In Clinton, there were 2 stores in downtown Clinton were owned by Klan members. And Chipman, that you've heard before, was arrested. He owned a place called the Chocolate Shop on High Street. And as soon as the Catholics, which were taking over Clinton at the time, found that out, they just boycotted his business, and that was the end of that. They went out of business in no time. But Fred Stowers, you probably remember Stowers on High Street, he was very leading Protestant in town, and he knew what was coming, and he was much, much smarter than Mr. Chipman, I guess, because he went and hired all Catholic women to work in his store. And so because of that, Stowers lasted a long, long time, well into I think the 1970s, with a different owner or whatever, for a long, long time, a very successful store. So kind of interesting how two stores and how they handled things. So right away, as you're probably thinking too, it's kind of like, why would these big riots and 37 people arrested, and how come none of them were Catholic? Well, of course, here's why. That started as an editorial, I think, in the Worcester Telegram, almost like saying, how come no Catholics got arrested in this? They were fighting, they were causing all this trouble, they were certainly disturbing the peace. How come they didn't get, Well, of course, again, the police chief was a Catholic, which probably helped. But it started this war of words. And there's some really good quotes here. Roy Kimball was the state police constable, and he had a few things to say about, he reminded everyone that the state police played no favorites, of course, he said. And my men did not know who were Klansmen and who were antis. They arrested all men they caught fighting or causing trouble. Then if any of the men whom the state police placed under arrest and took to the Clinton police station for booking escaped, then I call it a bad piece of police business on the part of the Clinton police. How about that? And I have confidence in my men, some George Parker said of the state police, and whatever. So everybody started pointing the finger at the Clinton Police Department and playing favorites and all of that, which of course they never did. No. And so here's Chief Kittredge's words of wisdom. He said, the state police organized and led the Klan parade that ended in the riot. The men under arrest who left the station house before being booked walked out past state patrolmen. And it is true, the state police were at the front door. So if these guys just walked out the door, the local police is saying, that's on the state police, that's not our problem. The state police took a prisoner from one of my men, but he was released and never booked. That's kind of interesting. I have issued summonses for 3 anti-Klansmen who walked out of the station house. I have also summoned 7 more alleged Klansmen. So he's trying to say that, this isn't over and we're still trying to get people. I love this one, being an Acre boy originally. The youths of the Acre district were too much for the state police. I love that. And the Acre was a big, big Catholic area. A lot of Italians and French were there. That was the first Catholic church to break off from St. John's. Some would say because St. John's was formed by the Irish, and the Irish didn't want any, even then, the Irish didn't want the Italians or the French there, so, go get your own church. And then after that, maybe it was the Rosary people who said, well, all these Polish people coming in, they ought to have their own church. So that was the 3 of them. And now we're back to 1. How about that? So anyway, they had to get involved. Even the Massachusetts Commissioner of Public Safety had to say a few words about, they believe that everything was done fairly and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Again, it was a typical, state government issue. The other things that were happening that I haven't talked about is there were probably a lot of little things going on that were Klan related, but they never made the papers that way. Obviously, the Smith brothers, they had a little store. It was my first job, in fact, when I was in the 8th grade. It was a store that was the size of this corner and owned by Mrs. Smith, an old lady in a rocking chair. And they lived on Water Street, and the 2 brothers got beaten up, and they were clearly Klan members. Everybody knew that. The whole family was. But again, when asked about it, they wouldn't say anything. They wouldn't give a reason why. We don't know why these guys did this to us. So more than likely that was a Klan versus anti-Klan thing. There was a fire in South Lancaster that was, I think, owned by the house or business was owned by Catholics. So there was these little things going on that probably were Klan related, but it never made the paper as an official Klan activity. This was a popular trick, and I was told way back when by an old guy that two guys, one named Brady and one named Devaney, two Clinton guys, two Clinton Catholics, would go around and pull fire alarms. And they thought it might be a way to let other Catholics know that the Klan was coming through. So if you pulled the alarm on somewhere on the acre, it was a warning for all the other Catholics to head to the acre because the Klan was coming through. Or they pull an alarm on Burdett Hill, it meant there's something going on here, everybody go. I don't think they were ever, I think it was a signal more than anything. After a while, of course, right away these alarms started going off, so they actually had a reward out for them. But it's funny in Clinton because there's people telling me who did it, but nobody knows who did it somehow or other. So, very strange. So there was one well-known case of some innocent person who had damage done to their car because of the riot. And in this case, it was the riot in Clinton. This was a Westboro guy who was caught in the middle of the Acre Klan riot in Clinton, and he was looking for $1,000 in damages. And 2 years later, he settled for $125. But the riots were getting, there were less riots, but also now the Klansmen were getting scared themselves. I really think they thought that the Catholics would probably try to somehow change the law to stop all of this craziness going on. But instead, the Catholics did the opposite. They resorted to violence to stop this stuff, and it worked, at least in Clinton. So the Klan started meeting in like other areas, even like southern New Hampshire. It just got so bad around here. And again, most of the towns, I think, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Sterling was probably mostly a Protestant town, at one time, maybe back in the 20s, I don't know. Clinton was more and more Catholic. It was a Catholic stronghold. And all around, especially Berlin, like I said, 1959 was the first Catholic church, St. Joseph's in Berlin. So, the Klan knew that the enemy was in Clinton, most definitely, and there was an awful lot of guys who liked to cause trouble in Clinton, too. How did it end for all the Clinton rioters? Well, you'll be happy to know none of those Sterling guys ended up being found guilty. Everybody was just dismissed, I guess, except for two people, and those, of course, were two Clintonians, Parker and Rice. And again, Rice and Parker, I think one of them had a gun. They had revolvers. Some of them shot off. Nobody got killed or wounded. But so out of the 37, only 2 were really found guilty. And I don't know what happened to them after that. So what happened to Chief Kittredge after all the goings on? Well, what happens in Clinton is always about politics, always. And again, he was a Catholic. But what happened is, this is back in the days before civil service. So you had 3 selectmen, and depending upon if they're Democrats or Republicans, that affected everybody. And back in those days when you ran for school committee, you had to run as a Republican or a Democrat. As selectmen, you were a Republican or a Democrat. Even these little tiny town offices, library trustees, you had to be the Republican candidate or the Democratic candidate. Thank God they got rid of that crap. But so what happened? It's simple. Politics happened. Clinton had bipartisan elections, and the Republicans swept the selectman's office. So suddenly you had 3 Republicans, I believe, who were running the town. And that meant the Democrat, Chief Kittredge, was out. And they replaced the entire police force. That's what they used to do. So all of a sudden, you know, the Dems win, and they put in a Dem chief of police. They put in Democratic police officers and all that kind of stuff. As soon as the tide turns, suddenly, you know, hey, see you later, everybody. We got our buddies coming in now. And I guess that's why civil service is pretty good. I don't know. But Kittredge was the leading Democrat in the town of Clinton. There's his grave in Woodlawn Cemetery. And you can see he was a Spanish-American War veteran. He was chairman of the town Democratic Committee. He was a library trustee, a founding member of Clinton's VFW. He was a water commissioner. He was a deputy tax collector. Very, very involved in the town, but clearly a Democrat. And when the Republicans took control of the town, he was out, and that was the end of that. So that's about it for my show. The Klan, of course, kept going, and the Klan still exists as we know. But that final riot on the acre pretty much ended any kind of Klan activity right around here. And it was a bad decision by the Klan to come through Clinton. They didn't know how many anti-Klanners were waiting for them. Again, they probably thought they were going to stop the Klan via the changing of laws or policies, but it was violence that ended up stopping all of this. They knew, stay the hell out of Clinton, and it worked out well. So that's it, and yet a year later, look at the Klan marching down Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C. So the Klan certainly didn't go away, but they left Clinton and they never came back, I don't think. Well, I thank you very much for being such a great audience, and I'll give this to you.
Thank you, Chair.